Yo, 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 welcome back to the live stream. It's your boy Tokyo Stoner, and we are back in business. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about this Ghost of Tsushima 2, aka Ghost of Yotai. I mean, let's just stop and talk about that for a minute. Like, Ghost of Yotai? Like, what? What happened to Tsushima? Just call it Ghost of Tsushima 2, right? Like, there's a cut through the O, like they've cut through the symbol. Like, the way I'm seeing it is like calling it Ghost of Yotai is making a very clear and distinct separation from Ghost of Tsushima and just basically saying like, that's the past. We're not dealing with that no more. We're moving on. Ghost of Yotai. So it's a clear cut for me. I had some people bouncing around the idea that, oh, maybe they'll revisit, the original characters and storyline in the future. But like, hey man, this was the perfect opportunity to do it. PS5 game. It's hype. It came at the end of the state of play, which was pretty mid, right? So you had this big announcement. And I think if this had been Ghost of Tsushima 2, it would have hit, like, it would have been massive. It would have been like a tsunami. Like, it would have been like a tidal wave of hype coming off the back of this. I'm pretty sure anyone and everyone would have been excited to see Ghost of Tsushima 2 and to know that it's on its way. To have it revealed, and it's revealed as Ghost as Yotai, you're 300-400 years in the future. So you're in a completely different part of the country, completely different setting, and you've got a brand new character, right? I know a lot of people are upset about the fact that it's like a gender swap character, which is fair. Like, I definitely think that's a fair complaint to make. Before even tripping into any of that kind of talk, I just want to say, like, to me, it doesn't matter if it's a girl character, a guy character. It could be like a monkey, or it could be anything, Black Myth. Like, I don't care who it is. If it's not Jin Sakai, then I don't really care, because he's the main character of the game. So if you're trying to introduce me to some new character in part 2, I'm really not interested. In storytelling, you have to be really good at writing and pulling together the story to make something like that viable, right? A good example is Metal Gear Solid 2 with Snake. You got Metal Gear Solid 2, Raiden, yeah? Everyone was expecting us to play as Snake. Instead, we got to play with Raiden. Like, that's fine. It's not really a problem. But at the time, when I was like 12 and I played it, I remember being a bit like, what happened to Snake? Hideo Kojima is like a really good storyteller. So he was able to pull that off in a way which didn't kill the franchise, and people still enjoyed the game. Not everybody is Hideo Kojima. Do you get what I'm saying? Not everybody's going to be able to tell a story that well, right? How many times have you watched the anime or like any kind of series and a time skip happens and all of a sudden you lose all interest in the show? It's happened to me many times. Time skips have to be done well. I'm not saying this time skip hasn't been done well. We haven't even played the game yet. But for me, looking at it, already my interest is like through the floor. I'm just like, what? What? Why? What? What? Where's Jin? Where's Jin? Where is he? He's the ghost. Jin is the ghost, right? He's the character that went from samurai to ninja and becomes the Ghost of Tsushima. So what's the point in introducing this Ghost of Yotai? Like, Jin Sakai is the character. He's the ghost, right? He's the guy. Like, he's the whole thing is based on him. The ghost, the legend, is the legend of Jin Sakai. So, like, the idea that you're going to tell us a part 2 of the story, it's still called Ghost, but you've got a brand new character in there, is like, oh my God. And like, if any of you guys remember back in the day when the Sucker Punch, the devs or whatever were talking about the idea of Yuna being the main character in the next game. I remember when I heard them talking about that and I saw like Game Rant and other websites talking about it, I remember being like, oh my God, don't do that. I wasn't interested in playing an entire game as Yuna. Looking at it now, it's just like, well, we've got the female hero. They did it. They didn't put Yuna in because I'm pretty sure there wasn't enough fan interest in Yuna as a character. She's a big character and a lot of people like her, but like to be the main character in a whole game, I don't know. It seems to me very clear that somebody at the Sucker Punch offices or at the Sony offices wanted a female hero to be in the next game. Somebody somewhere wanted that. And they managed to pull it off. Either way, you've introduced these female characters or like this female main character, which does kind of reek of gender politics. We haven't seen any signs of it like yet in the game as far as script and dialogue, but just the fact that if it's not broke, don't fix it. You had a great setting, a great world. We played an entire game kind of building out that world, and it felt like they were making a foundation which could be built upon, right? I really thought that the next game, the thing that made the most sense is you just do the Mongol invasion on mainland Japan. Because in history, the Mongols invaded Tsushima and they were repelled by a crazy storm that came, right? After the storm destroyed all the boats of the Mongols, they came back and they ended up invading mainland Japan. So it would have been really cool to just have the game continue, and like the map could be bigger because you move from the island to the mainland, right? That would have been really cool. We could have continued Jin's story. There was a lot of unfinished business there. You know, how does he feel about what happened with Shimura? How does he live now, right? Now that he's like he's an outcast from the samurais, right? The samurais don't, you know, see him as a traitor basically, but also, you know, to the enemy, they're also after him. So he's got no allies outside of like Yuna and the few friends he has around, you know, dotted around the island. It would have been really interesting to see, like, just to see all of that. I think that would have been a lot of fun. There was so much left to explore. I'm definitely disappointed. As a fan of the original, someone that played the original, you know, a lot of hours and like really had fun with that game and waited for the sequel, right? I waited for the sequel for a long time and I was quite hype. As I said, you know, years ago, I saw Sucker Punch and a couple other websites talking about the idea of Yuna replacing Jin. I always knew that that was part of the conversation. I really didn't think that they were going to jump out the window and do it. So obviously this character is not Yuna, but it doesn't change the fact that as a day one player, I'm incredibly disappointed to know that, you know, this game doesn't have Jin. Jin's not featured in this game. Jin's been left behind. All of the characters that we were introduced to in the original game are also left behind. Just the fact that the entire first game has basically been abandoned in exchange for this Ghost of Yotai. You know, even just the name actually changing from Tsushima to Yotai, I think that's pretty wild. So, you know, it does very much look like an Assassin's Creed at this point. You know, like how Assassin's Creed is like new eras, new characters each time. With Assassin's Creed, the first 3 games, the Ezio collection, you play as the same character for 3 games. And throughout those 3 games, the lore and the foundation that the entire series is built upon, that's where it was established, right? It took 3 games to establish lore and foundation strong enough to be able to run the Assassin's Creed game even now. You know, what, like 20 years later, 20 plus years later, we're still getting Assassin's Creed games. I feel like with Ghost of Tsushima, the foundation, for me at least, wasn't strong enough for them to try something like this. At least the second game with Jin. It doesn't have to be set in Tsushima. You can change the set and take him into the mainland if you want. But I think for me, the second game needed to be a continuation. It needed to follow Jin's story. And it needed to expand on all of that to build on everything that was set in the first game. And I even would have played a third. I even would have been really excited to see a part 3 where we're still following Jin Sakai. And if at the end of that game, you decided to let him die and like let the character, you know, be removed from the storyline in some type of, you know, really cool way, but over the course of the trilogy you've been introducing these new characters who are going to carry the game moving forward. Or even if you just did the first 3 games telling the story of Jin and then you jumped 300-400 years in the future and started telling us about, you know, his descendants and in the Ghost of Yotai, to me that would have worked way better. When I watched the trailer for this game, there was nothing in the trailer that made me like think, oh, this game looks terrible, or this looks like a rubbish game, or like, oh, I don't like it looked fine. The game looked fine, characters looked fine, the entire concept looked fine, right? The only thing that wasn't cool was that, number one, where is Jin? Jin's not here. It's called Ghost, but there's no Ghost. Where's the Ghost? And number 2, we're like 300-400 years in the future from where we left off. So like, it's a shame to me that like the game looks good, but I know in my heart of hearts, I'm really not particularly interested in playing this game. At least as hype as I would have been if it had just been a straight continuation. Ghost of Tsushima 2, here's Jin Sakai, let's go, you know? What would have been really cool as well would have been to see a double player. So like two playable characters. If any of you guys played Tenchu back in the day, you could play from Tenchu 2 and also Tenchu 3. You had a choice. So in Tenchu 2, you could play as Rikimaru, Tetsumaru, or Ayame, who was the female ninja. In Wrath of Heaven, in Tenchu 3, you could also play as Rikimaru or Ayame. You got a guy ninja, a girl ninja. So, you know, take your pick kind of thing. But in doing that, the lore continued, the characters continued, the story continued. If it turns out that the whole reason we've done this time skip is just to justify the presence of female ghost, then that's pretty bad, man. That's definitely pretty bad. Again, I'm not saying these guys had bad intentions, like, but at the same time, you know, they did say they were going to replace Jin with Yuna. There was a lot of websites kind of reporting that. Guess who'd be the best choice character for the next game? And they were all talking about Yuna and shilling the idea of Yuna being the new main character. Obviously, Yuna is not, but we still got the female lead. So, Yeah, to me that does kind of, it reeks of gender politics. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that's how it looks to me at a glance. Anyway, Ghost of Yotai. We'll see what's going on with this game when it drops. I guess I'll be paying attention to it and waiting for it to release. We may play it at launch, we may not. I guess that also depends on like what the atmosphere is at the time, and just the more we see of the game, the easier it's going to be for me to decide if this is something that I'm really going to want to play or not. But regardless of whether I play it or don't play it, I think removing Jin Sakai as the main character is a big L. The time skip is a big L. The change of title is, I don't want to say it's a big L, but like, come on, man. Like, it does really feel like they're just trying to kind of sweep Ghost of Tsushima under the rug. Like, and they just want to relaunch from here. I mean, what are they going to do? Is every single game going to be a brand new time with a brand new character or a brand new hero? Because that seems like the precedent they're setting. But like, that's pretty wild. I mean, if it's done well, like the early Final Fantasy games, if it's done well, then it can be really good. But like, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This Ghost of Tsushima Part 2, aka Ghost of Yotai. Say it's going to be out next year. We might be subject to some delays, but yeah, Ghost of Yotai. What do you guys think about this game? Hype? Not hype? What do you think about the character swap, right? New character, how do you feel about that? And time skip, what are you thinking about the time skip? You guys know how I feel already. I would have rather more of the same, but here we are. Anyway, streaming on the channel, so stick around, like and subscribe, all of that. You'll catch us going live and talk about this stuff on stream. Links in the description. The Waves Volume 1, Bad Guys Volume 1 out now. You can stream and download that to support the channel. And yeah, you lot just take care of yourself, stay there, and I'll catch you lot in the next one. Peace.